In the aftermath of the 2003 US invasion and the subsequent fall of Saddam Hussein's regime, American diplomat Paul Bremer was put in charge of governing Iraq in May after US forces took over Baghdad without seeking input from Washington. As his first act, he issued 2 following edicts with disastrous long-term consequences. Coalition Provisional Authority Order No. 1. Members of the Ba'ath Party are banned from working in government. Note that Iraq, having been a one-party dictatorship, this is basically everyone in government. Coalition Provisional Authority Order No. 2. The entire Iraqi military, national police force, legislature, and court system, and also the Ministry of Education and Olympic Committee are disbanded. If you were one of the 350,000 Iraqi soldiers, or one of the thousands of people with jobs in those other government entities, you're fired. Here's where this one was a major catastrophe. Many Iraqi soldiers who had their military-issued AKs at home with them did not join the fight. Many officers did not mobilize their units to resist the American invasion at all, and many of those who did surrendered on contact. But it didn't matter if you were a private who stayed at home or a general who surrendered with no resistance. You're jobless. Some of these generals became leaders in sectarian militias, and many of the now unemployed soldiers became their fighters. Let's explore how policies like this played a major role in the strategic interests of the US. The Middle East is often seen as the intersection of Europe and Asia, and has a rich history as the cradle of civilization. The borders were shaped by European powers like France and Britain, leading to the current geopolitical landscape. Iraq currently has the 5th largest proven oil reserves in the world, with 145 billion barrels, almost 8.5% of the global total. Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait in 1990 triggered a massive US-led response, as he cited Kuwait had started drilling and stealing their oil as a reason for war. The pursuit of oil played a significant role in shaping alliances, conflicts, and geopolitical dynamics in the region. It influenced America's engagement in the Middle East, shaping long-term consequences. The US invasion of Iraq in 2003 was primarily justified on grounds of eliminating weapons of mass destruction that were later not found to exist. It did lead to political, social, and economic consequences. The decisions were made by the United States and its allies in post-invasion favored multinational corporations. These concerns mainly revolve around the influence exerted on the country's political and economic landscape rather than direct theft. The Iraqi government, with the assistance of the United States, introduced a new framework for contracts, such as production sharing agreements to foreign companies, which allows them to share in the production of profits of fields. Their involvement in developing them became a contentious issue. Their terms have been more favorable to foreign investors than to its government. There is a lack of transparency in the process, raising concerns about corruption and favoritism in awarding them. Some argue that these measures were necessary to attract foreign investment and expertise, while others say that they have disproportionately benefited themselves at the expense of Iraq's national interests. Ensuring stability in Iraq's oil production is seen as a strategic interest for the United States. A stable and secure supply could contribute to global energy security, impacting prices and availability on the international market. Some US, China, Malaysia, Russia, France, and the UK did secure contracts for related services, benefiting economically from this sector. Lukoil, a major Russian company, signed agreements with the government for the development of oil fields. One significant project is the West Qurna 2 in the south. It won the rights to develop it, which is one of the country's largest, aiming to increase production capacity of the state. China National Petroleum Corporation is one of China's largest state-owned oil and gas entities and has been actively involved in the Rumaila in the south, which is one of the largest fields of the country. One notable French giant, named Total, has been active in the West Qurna 1, located in the south, Malaysian organizations, particularly Petronas, have been involved in the Gulf situated in the south. The United States companies like ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Occidental Petroleum also secured contracts. BP is a British corporation which returned to Iraq in 2009 after a 35-year absence and was awarded a significant interest in the Rumaila. Since 2011, it has pumped 262 million barrels, totaling 15.4 billion euros. Its production increased rapidly from 31,000 barrels a day in 2011 to 123,000 barrels a day by 2015. BP, along with China National Petroleum Company and the government, aimed to invest $15 billion over 20 years to increase Rumaila's production to nearly 3 million barrels per day. Sir John Sawers, the UK's first special representative to Iraq after the invasion, joined BP's board in 2015. Over 7 years, Sawers earned 1.1 million euros in fees from BP and had a significant BP shareholding. Sawers is a former MI6 officer, became head of MI6 in 2009, and joined BP in 2015. BP's historical connection with MI6 has been noted, with claims of close collaboration at high levels. Its production became a significant part of its global operations, surpassing its whole European operation by 2020. Its operations continued despite instability and sectarian violence in other parts of the country. Shell, which is another UK corporation, eventually sold its interest in the West Qurna 1 and Majnoon fields to the government in 2018. Both of them have a long history in the state, dating back to a century, and were significant players in the country's industry before nationalization in 1972. Baghdad International Trade Fair has served as a gauge of business willingness in Iraq for nearly 40 years. Despite the troubled global economy, there is a significant influx of tens of billions of dollars in investment money into the country. The invasion raised concerns about being a war for oil, as it holds significant reserves. The United States is Iraq's largest trading partner, primarily driven by the US buying oil and Iraq purchasing American weapons. Trade extends beyond these, encompassing power generation, information technology, transportation, safety and security, financial services, and defense. Challenges include regular bombings, bureaucratic hurdles, and widespread corruption, making it a challenging place to conduct business. Almost 2 decades after the war, it still requires a wide range of products, from steel cables to consumer goods. It is pumping significant amounts, providing the country with the financial means to pay for its needs. Turkey and China are prominent trading partners, while European firms are increasingly drawn to it despite difficult conditions at home. Iraqi President Barham Salih claims that approximately $150 billion has been stolen through corrupt deals since the invasion in 2003. He made this statement during a televised speech while submitting a draft Corrupt Funds Recovery Act to the parliament. The proposed law aims to recover money lost to corruption, hold accountable those involved in corrupt activities, and bring them to justice. However, violent protests since 2019 demonstrate public discontent with government corruption, unemployment, and inadequate basic services. The Biden administration is considering a gradual withdrawal of US troops from the country, with a focus on the improving capability of its security forces and the diminished threat of ISIS. Presently, the United States has around 2,500 troops there who are primarily engaged in training and advisory roles as part of Operation Inherent Resolve, the global coalition against ISIS. There are claims that the US stole $30 trillion worth of oil. After the invasion, it was sold to fund the country's development fund, and America did not truck it away. Its Special Inspector General for Iraq Reconstruction found that the Department of Defense couldn't account for $8.7 billion of DFI funds. Even if all of the unaccounted money was considered stolen, it is a far cry from the alleged $30 trillion. It spent $60 billion in the reconstruction of the country. Moreover, there is a claim of stealing $20 trillion worth of gold, which got refuted. The photos of American soldiers with Iraqi gold bars exist as evidence of seizing, but the US said that the seized items were examined and returned to the Central Treasury of State. It had under 6 tons of gold reserves in 2003, valued at less than $70 million. The use of TSCs and the involvement of major companies in post-invasion has been a subject of scrutiny and criticism. Multinational corporations benefited the US from Iraq's oil. Despite the challenges, the potential rewards for businesses are substantial. Some European business people believe that the perceived danger there is not as severe as it may seem. Many believe that it has the resources and potential to become one of the major booming countries in the region. It's crucial to note that the situation is complex and different stakeholders have various interests. The geopolitical and economic dynamics involving oil were influenced by a combination of factors, including regional stability, global energy markets, and the goals of multinational corporations. Comment down below on what you think, and if you like this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.